Hi everybody, this is Cindy and I am summarizing the second article in the Entity and Language series called Frameworks, Translation, and Natural Language APIs. So this is the second in a 5-part series about entities and language and their relationship to mobile first indexing. The main points here are that Google has made a huge focus on voice and artificial intelligence. You can see this by them starting to put the Google Assistant, which is their voice-activated search and engagement platform, on just everything from their own stuff to TVs, stereos, clock radios that are made by other companies. They're trying to put this quasi-search engine into all these different devices to make sure that Google is a part of everyone's everyday life. The difficulty with voice search and without a screen or without a keyboard is that Google has to understand the question that you're asking and be able to surface a result quickly and easily without you scanning to find the best result. And that means that they have to get smarter about how they're surfacing the top results, how they're serving the top results, and what they're choosing as a top result. So this new focus is a fundamental shift in SEO. And SEO has traditionally been focused on ranking websites and URLs in the organic rankings. And we've casually talked about position 0, but what you'll notice is that the position 0 results are getting more and more rich and built out, and they're pushing the organic results further and further down the page. And it's almost like organic results are becoming second-class citizens in a Google search because they're pushed down by all these things that Google thinks are better, more engaging results, especially for the mobile experience. And we know that 61% or more of mobile searches don't result in a click. And this appears to be because people are finding exactly what they want in the search result without having to click. And this is especially reinforced with the kind of richer results that you get in position 0. So this includes things like map packs, app packs, answers, which do have a link to a web page, but show you a piece of text directly from the web page without you having to click, knowledge graph, and videos, images, stuff like that, that is richer, more engaging than just a blue link with a description underneath and gives you more of a good experience directly from the search result. What you can also see is that Google is building out knowledge graph to include more tabs of more interactive information. So once Google understands that this is a topic, you can think about topics of conversation as entities, right? Or knowledge graph as entities. Once Google knows this is an entity, this is a concept, this is an idea, now they're adding tabs within it to say within this topic or idea, here are some subtopics or ideas, and here are some related lateral topics of ideas that are linked. And so this is, you can see through this, Google building out its hierarchy of understanding of the relationships of different entities on the web. And the reason language is important here is because these entity relationships are language agnostic. The relationship exists regardless of what language you're speaking. And that's important because that's where Google gets this new efficiency in mobile first indexing, where they build out on one set of relationships that they know and understand, and then the language becomes a modifier rather than basing search on specific one language, one country at a time kinds of engagements and having to build the algorithm again and again for these different languages or different countries. They said, that's getting too hard. That's too work intensive and actually too easy to game with links and stuff like that. What's harder to game, what's more meaningful in a mobile query is these richer relationships where when you do a search, you can build out from one search in a contextual conversational way. So if you ask, how tall is the Eiffel Tower, and then you say how many floors are in it, then you don't have to always repeat the context of the query to give it again and again. And of course, semantic search and that kind of building on questions is something that Google's been working on for longer than mobile first indexing. But I think mobile first indexing was the solution to the problem, that they weren't able to do that kind of deep conversational engagement without having deeper understanding of the entities. And they weren't able to do it in multiple languages because Google is so much stronger in English and the bigger languages with more machine learning capabilities or possibilities, because there are just so many more people searching it, so more data to feed the machine learning. So that's really important. Some other evidence that this is happening is Google's Project Fuchsia, which is a new combined operating system, mobile operating system, and browser. So it's an OS and a browser all in one, and it's something that they've been testing. And some bloggers are helpfully writing all about it, and seen is that this browser OS combo by Google tends to be organized by entities, by topics, and by schema. And so that's really important as a signal for where Google is going and what they see as the future. The other thing to understand here is that Google Play, which is where you go to get apps, videos, games, music, podcasts, all of the media that you might consume on an Android device is hosted in Google Play. And Google Play is already organized by entities, right? So you can search for Taylor Swift and it says, hey, we know a lot about Taylor Swift. Here are some of her songs, here are some of her videos, and potentially here's more information about Taylor Swift. Here are songs and here are the related albums, right? So you have this hierarchy of this is a song, it's related to this album, or this is an album, it's related to these songs, or this is a video, it's related to this tour, here are the tour dates. And so it's already combining information about topics into clusters. And so when you search in Google Play, I think it's a good example of something that's clearly organized by entities. It's still a search engine, but it doesn't need URLs to surface content, right? And that's where I think Google is going. And I think that we can also see that in some of the preliminary reports on what's happening in Fuchsia. We can also see this happening with the super high focus in Google My Business, or GMB. All of the changes in GMB are allowing companies to claim their own entity, right? And people can claim themselves as an entity, but businesses in GMB claim their business entity, and then they can do things like list not just addresses, but now they can list products, they can list appointment times, they can list services, they can build out their own little website as part of the GMB platform. And so this again is saying, here's the main entity, this business. There are related things that you might care about in this business. So you might want to buy a product, you might want to drive to one of the locations, you might want to watch a video, you might want to read an article. But again, this is aiming at a richer experience that's not 100% reliant on surfacing web pages. They can surface GMB without surfacing a web page. It just shows up directly in the search, like a position 0 result. And since Google hosts it, they know that they've vetted it, that it's fast, that it's not spammy, all of those things. So they have less concern. And in a voice-only query, they can say, oh, we found your business, we found this business that you are searching for. Do you want to know their opening time? Do you want to know all of their locations? Do you want to know what products they sell? You can also see it in the relationship of things that are showing up in GMB now, like the query you search for iPhone and you get a map pack that says iPhone sold here, right? And so we're getting these richer results in mobile first indexing that seem like just so much more than what Google describes as a change in crawlers. Other things that indicate that this is really what's happening is the Market Finder tool, which was created for PPC people and advertising people, so SEOs mostly don't know about it. But if you search for Google Market Finder, what you'll see is you can go in and put your domain name in, and it'll, within like 3 or 5 seconds, it'll go, we think that your website is about this or is related to this topic. And the thing about that is, number one, the speed with which that happens tells me that Google's not doing an on-demand crawl of your website to figure out what it's for. It's probably not even just crawling the homepage. I think that Google has already gone through and categorized most websites on the web by what industry they're in. And so it's just querying the mobile first index to see, okay, we have, someone put this domain in, what it does. And I think that part of mobile first indexing was the classification of all of the websites to different kinds of businesses. What's interesting there is you can drill into the tool and say, yes, we're related to these topics that you highlighted on the first page of the tool, but actually this one isn't quite right and this one isn't quite right. And so you can drill into Google's own hierarchy of what kinds of businesses out there, and you specify, do you sell products or offline or just online subscriptions, or do you not sell products? And so it's got everything divided out by what kind of website it is, what it sells, and industries, sub-industries, and you drill down and down and down, and then you can say, I'm exactly this. Or you can even suggest new kinds of categorizations that aren't there yet. So I think that this is the framework that Google is using in mobile first indexing to crawl and decide what website did what and how they should be categorized. And so it's kind of categorizing the web by topic, which fits with our description of mobile first indexing as entity first indexing. And so have a look at the Market Finder tool. The other important thing with the Market Finder tool is once you've got all the categories, you can hit a button and it'll go and it'll tell you what countries you should be doing PPC for this product in, like where's the most demand for this kind of product and where's the most potential revenue for this kind of product. And it'll give you all of these different statistics about each of the countries where Google thinks that you should be running ads to sell your products. What's fascinating here is Google's not translating the keywords. If you're selling pet supplies and Google knows that you're a pet supply seller, it's not saying, oh, here are the keywords that you need to target in Germany to sell pet products. It's not translating. It's not saying any of that. It's just saying, you know what? We're going to help you get set up in all these different countries. Don't worry about the keywords. We get you. We got it. We'll help you with that. It's already got the translation. It's already got the entity understanding. So I think that's really telling too, as a signal for where Google sees that it can make money too, right? When you classify the world by entities, then it makes it easier to not have to speak every language to market in different countries that you wouldn't have thought of before. The other interesting tool to look at is the Cloud Natural Language API. So if you go and search for Google Cloud Natural Language API, you'll get to a landing page, and on that landing page is a text form or a text field that you can fill in and submit, and it's going to break down the text into how it's going to tell you how it understands the text that you put in. So if it's a paragraph or a sentence or whatever, it'll highlight words and it'll say, this is a person, this is a place, this is a consumer product, this is a business product, things like that. So you can actually see how Google's brain works and processes sentences. And what's interesting there is that Google Cloud Natural Language API understands 10 languages natively, and they're listed in the article. But what that means is it doesn't have to always translate to understand back to English to understand what you're saying. Some of the languages, it's got enough machine learning, it's got enough history and understanding that it gets it without that its brain works in that language. But other languages, it doesn't understand as well. So the translation API still comes in. And so from an SEO perspective, we know that Google is using the location API, the translation API to detect what language you're searching in and what language you most likely want the content to be in. There are other signals they use for this as well, but they're using the Cloud Natural Language API to find matches in their entity understanding of the words that you're searching for to their database to see, is there a good match in the knowledge graph? Should we be showing knowledge graphs? Should we be showing maps? To really get a deeper understanding of what you're searching for and what kinds of results would be best. So that is Article 2 of the Entity and Language series. It's called Frameworks, Translation, and Natural Language and APIs. So thanks.